Hello everyone, I'm Ellen Muth. You may know me as an actress from the TV series Dead Like Me and numerous other films that I've done over the years. And as my years as an actress, I've been lucky enough to experience a lot of different skincare and treatments and procedures which I may not have had the opportunity to experience had I not been in the entertainment industry. And truth be told, I've actually never had a skincare regimen. When I do a production, they would always ask me what products I like best, and they would always put them on me before, of course, filming. But it wasn't until recently that I started really researching on skincare and all the mass production of different beauty care devices and products available, because I started noticing, now that I've hit 40, my skin is starting to change in my face, in my neck, and everywhere. Anyone from 38 up knows how that goes. So today I'm going to share with you, since this is just our first video, I'm going to share with you some products which come from Korea, South Korea, which is actually the hub for beauty care and skincare. So many products and devices come out of South Korea, and many of which we never get to experience in the US because they're either not FDA approved or they just don't seem to pick up in effectiveness, maybe in the doctor's minds or the estheticians who could use them, or they already are overloaded with products and devices which they feel do more or better. It all depends, but the biggest thing is if something isn't FDA approved most of the time, neither a doctor nor a nurse will use them in their practices. But that doesn't mean that they're not wonderful products, and most of these products which I'm going to show you are approved by South Korea's FDA. And they actually, their Food and Drug Administration is also called FDA, so don't be confused when you read FDA approved. You must look for either US FDA approved or KSK FDA approved, which would be South Korea FDA. Okay, so all of these products which I'm showing you today are from a company in South Korea called Ace Cosm, and some of them I ordered, and actually no, I ordered all of them, but they were kind enough to send me some at their own expense, and some of which I bought. And I must say the prices there are so much less expensive than in the United States. However, I will say that when you're getting into products such as dermal fillers or botulinum toxin type A or any type of botulinum toxins, you should not do them on your own unless you are a licensed professional who's trained in those, because there can be devastating defects if you don't know what you're doing, especially with dermal fillers, because you can have vascular occlusions, which means, our face has many veins and arteries, and if you happen to inject into a vein or an artery, that hyaluronic acid, which is what's used in most dermal fillers, does not just flow through. It gets stuck in there just like a blood clot, and it can't pass through, and so blood just builds up, and it's basically a clot. And what happens if you don't get it dissolved with hyaluronidase, which in the US is usually called Hylenex, which is a dissolver of hyaluronic filler. Sometimes they'll use it actually if you get dermal filler hyaluronic acid put in your face or anywhere for that matter, and you don't like how it looks, they'll use Hylenex to dissolve it, and then you'll get your natural face back, and the dermal filler will disappear. It'll just dissolve. But they also use it in emergency situations, such as a vascular occlusion, and the way you would know, I mean, there are many ways you would know if you had a vascular occlusion, but hopefully the professional who is using the dermal fillers on you would look for it right away, because usually it would show up, it would show symptoms right away. You would have blotching white webbing, like would kind of look like a spider web of white, kind of looks like white veins or a white spider web running up your face away from where you had the filler done. Or you can also do a check where, let's say you had filler put in this side of your lip, and you notice it starts to hurt, and you notice you're developing bruising that's getting larger, or it's turning purple or black. Oh God, black is not a good thing. Or it starts to move further up your face, or if your face starts to get cold to the touch, that means you're not getting enough blood to that area. And what you can do is go to both sides of your face, and the place where you had the filler put, you would push on for a few seconds and then release. And I'm not sure if you can see or not. Push, release, and you see how it turned white and then immediately went back to the normal color of my skin? That means that I have proper blood flow to that side. And then you would want to do the opposite side, because it should look and respond the same way. If it doesn't, then that means you may have a vascular issue. See, the color came back right away? Okay, so that's just a little bit on the safetiness of hyaluronic acid dermal fillers. But we'll talk about that more later on as we do more of these. Really, today is just an introduction and giving you an idea of what I'm trying to do here or provide with you. I would really like this to be more of an interactive channel rather than just me talking, showing, demonstrating, and comparing products. I hope to eventually open a group so that you can give me, well, certainly in the comments, I would love for you to give me your ideas or things that you would like to see or know more about, and I'm always happy to do more and new research on anything to do with aesthetics, cosmetics, especially in the Korean beauty industry. I just find it fascinating. I don't know if it's just because it's new and most of it, you know, I haven't seen before, or if it's, I don't know, it just feels like Christmas right now opening this box. By the way, like I told you, this all came from acecosm.com, and I've actually spelled it out for you, and they were kind enough to give me a discount code for you, anyone who's watching. And by the way, I hope if you are watching and you think this may be a channel that you would be interested in, and future demonstrations and different products that I'm showing and demonstrating how to use, that you will subscribe. Just hit the subscribe button. That'd be great. Or give me a thumbs up, like. I'd appreciate that too. Thank you. So I wrote down exactly how the company is spelled and the discount code, which when you're checking out, in the discount code section, my initials and then 10. So Ellen Muth, which is EAM, as in mother, 10. So it's EAM10. So Ellen Muth 10% off. So you get 10% off of your entire order at acecosm.com. Now I just hope this doesn't show up backwards when I... Is it backwards? I think it is backwards. Yeah, it's definitely backwards. Okay, well, I'll spell it for you. ACECOSM.com. And then the 10% discount code that you can use is EAM10. I can't believe I'm this technologically challenged. Hopefully I'll get better as time goes by. Okay, so they were kind enough to send me masks, face masks, you know, the sheet face masks, which I absolutely love, especially after doing microneedling, which I'll certainly be showing you because I love microneedling, and I think it's great for the skin, and it helps with building new collagen and fibroblasts, which produce collagen. And it's also great just for the texture of your skin. It's basically a electronic pen. It's the size of a marker, a child's marker, and it comes with disposable cartridges, which have not needles but pins. They're solid pins, so they don't actually inject product. You can't send product through them, and they only reach a depth in the skin of anywhere from 0.25 millimeters up to 2.5 millimeters, which is very, very small. So you're going into the superficial part of the skin layer, and you basically put the product, which you want to get certainly a medical grade product so that you know that it's clean enough to actually put into your skin. But we're not using actual needles. We're using, as I said, pins, which are going to basically they basically well, maybe I'll show you. This is the dermal pen. This is a doctor pen, which is probably the most popular brand right now, and I went with this one because this is the newest model, the M8, and you can change the depth to which it goes into your face, and there are about 8 different speed settings, because once you put the pin cartridge right in here, you will see that the needles basically push in and out and in and out, but they move so fast that you'll never know that they're going back in to the cartridge. So some people do it in circles around their face. Other people will actually dab like that. The dabbing is very good for when you've put a lot of product on your face which you want to go in, because when you're running in circles or just running up and down, very often you're basically dragging a lot of the serum or whatever it is that you are using up and down your face, and a lot of it ends up kind of drooling down the cartridge and you lose a lot of product. Whereas if you just kind of punch like that, you're just pushing the product into the superficial layer of your skin. The superficial layer is basically the first layer after the epidermis. The epidermis is what we expose to the world, and then the superficial layer is right underneath. And usually if you're doing very fine lines in your doctor's office, trying to get them removed, if you're not getting them done by a laser, if you're getting them not removed but temporarily fixed by a dermal filler, they'll usually fill those fine lines in the superficial layer with a very fine, thin needle that's only about a 30 gauge needle, because they just want to go right underneath the epidermis to where they can lift the needle and you can see the whiteness of the skin, because that's how thin the skin is. But if he can see the grayness of the needle, then he knows he's gone too deep, and then he just pushes down. Not that you need to know this, because you should not be injecting yourself with needles unless you're a licensed nurse or doctor. And I am not a licensed anything except driver. I'm a licensed driver. I'm not an esthetician. I'm not a nurse. I'm not a doctor. So anything I do on this channel is for your entertainment, for just information that you can take or leave, believe or don't believe, research it and see if it's adequate or accurate, rather. And feel free to tell me if at any time I've made a mistake about something. I love to hear when I'm wrong. I'm just playing. Okay, so this product, it's called Elaxin. It's a PDRN, which is one of the most popular products in South Korea right now. It's made from salmon DNA, which they claim is very similar to human DNA, which that I'm not so sure about. They're not mammals, but anyway, I've actually read very good trials and scientific evidence that PDRN does work for the skin in producing. It awakens the fibroblasts, which produce collagen, and helps your skin produce more collagen. And collagen is what helps regenerate our skin and gives us that youthful glow, and fills our skin. As we get older, we lose a lot of volume in our skin, and that's because we're losing a lot of collagen and hyaluronic acid, as we have naturally in our skin. And so this is supposed to help regenerate that collagen and the glow that comes with more production of collagen. And I'm actually going to open this to see. I think they come in syringes, and some people will use it's not a one-time use product. It's, so this is 2.2 mLs. And what you're supposed to do is inject it into either the subcutaneous part of the skin or right into the superficial layer, which are drastically different. They do different things. The subcutaneous layer is the very deep layer where fluid and fat and fibroblasts and collagen are reproduced, and so they say to put it in the subcutaneous layer because that's where you will produce the most collagen and have the most effect from a product like this. However, again, I don't recommend using needles if you're not trained to do so. I would say that a product like this would be best entered into the skin with something like a microneedle, or you could use a mesotherapy gun, which I will get into later as well. That's a little more intense of an injection device, but still not a needle, so to speak. but it would put the product in an area which is deeper and more, you won't lose as much product, and a product like this you certainly don't want to waste. So something like PDRN, and there are so many different brands of PDRN, you want to use every 3 to 4 weeks, because you want to give your skin a chance to reproduce collagen and then give it a break to rest, and then start again in 3 or 4 weeks, and it'll again reproduce more. And you do about 3 to 4 sessions. They say you usually start to see results in your skin, like differences in your skin, at about 3 to 4 weeks. Some of them say to do 5 or 6 sessions. It really depends on your skin and the individual person. Okay, so here we have threads. If you are not familiar with what threads are, I'm not talking about the eyebrow threading. These are sterile PCL threads. PCL is a polycarbonate. You know what? I'm going to have to look that up to be absolutely sure about how to pronounce it. But it's actually a collagen builder as well. And the threads, which there are 3 different types of threads. There are PDOs, which are basically like dissolvable sutures that you use, or doctors use. And those are more for lifting loose skin or fat pads. So jowls, when women are starting to get jowls around their jaw or on their labia folds. This would be a labial fold if it were a little more like that. The PDO lift would go in, down, through the fold, and then the needle would be pulled out, and yes, the needle goes all the way down through the fold, and then the thread or the suture is left in the skin, and then the doctor would kind of pull on the thread, which gives it that lifted appearance. I've never actually done them. I've heard controversial remarks about whether or not they actually work, and if they're worth the amount of money that you spend to have them put in. The threads themselves are not that expensive. It's having them put in your face that's expensive. So basically the doctor's time and knowledge is what you're paying for. The PCL threads, which are the ones that I have here, they are also screw threads, which means that they wrap around the needle instead of being just a singular thread. And so when they're placed right under, these would be put in the superficial layer of the skin. So if you were to put them right underneath the skin in the superficial layer, you could put them anywhere where you want to gain, draw in more moisture, excuse me, and build more collagen. So, for instance, my neck is the first thing, or the first place I started to see I was getting lines in my 30s, and so I thought these would be great to put in those lines to draw in more volume and moisture to possibly fill those lines. So these, they're not great for lifting because they're more for moisture, and they're not as strong as the PDOs. Then there are also the PLLAs, polylactic acid, and that is the same ingredient that is in the product that is US FDA approved Sculptra, which is another dermal filler, so to speak, but it's more of a collagen stimulant, which is injected into the subcutaneous layer of the skin somewhere that you want to build more collagen. And so a professional would inject the polylactic acid into your skin. You don't get immediate effects. You have to wait 3 to 4 weeks again, and go back. And in 3 to 4 weeks, they say after one session, you may start to see some volume develop in the area which you had it injected. And then they'll do another session. And they do anywhere from 2 to 4 sessions of the Sculptra. And again, that's US FDA approved. It's also very expensive. So they do make threads out of the same ingredient which Sculptra is made of, which is the polylactic acid. The only reason I didn't get those is because I have another product in here, which is polylactic acid, that I was thinking of microneedling. Now this, I'm not sure what this is, but we're going to open it and find out. Oh, it's saline. It's just sterile saline. It's always good to have saline around that's not, just distilled water, but actually medical grade saline in case you need it to dissolve anything that you think may come as a liquid, but actually comes as a powder. And this is 10% Novocaine, or not Novocaine, sorry, 10% lidocaine, which you may or may not, depending on your pain tolerance, put on the spot where you plan to microneedle or do threading, the threading which I just showed you. In fact, I'll open this to give you an idea of what they look like. Lidocaine, if you are going to use it, you want to put it on fairly thick and about 20 minutes before the time that you plan on doing whatever it is you plan on doing to your face that may be painful. And you want to apply a good amount, and then the best thing to do, as long as you leave either your mouth or your nose open, is put saran wrap around it so that you keep it moist and it doesn't just dry up, at which point it wouldn't be effective. So these, if you can see, are the threads. They come in very thin, I think 30 or 32 gauge needles, which is a very thin needle, and the thread, like I said, is wrapped around the needle. Oh, you're not going to be able to see the thread. The thread is so thin. But this is what it looks like, and this little plastic device is, when these are being injected, you hold on to that because that's stabilizing the end of the thread so that it doesn't fall off or move as you're putting this into the skin. And then once you know you have it in the position where you want it, then you you twist this part first, the pink part, the end of the needle, and after you've twisted it, you hold on to the plastic piece and then pull the needle out, and then the plastic piece is kind of stuck to your skin, and then you pull that off. So that is a PCL thread, which I've actually wanted to try either a thread lift or thread moisturizing like these for quite some time. I cannot find a doctor in this area that does any of these. So I started reading on exactly what is involved in doing them and watching a lot of tutorials, and that is why I ordered those. One, because I wanted to show you and explain what they are and what the differences is between the 3 different types of threads. And by the way, that's not just the only types of threads there are. They get into all kinds of different types of threads, how they're made. They may have what they consider barbed wire, and that doesn't mean that the needle is barbed, but they make the actual thread have barbs that are so small you would need a microscope to actually see the barbs, but they're supposed to help pull the skin up or keep the thread in place. Okay, this is Tesoro with lidocaine, so it does have a numbing effect. This is, as we talked about, a hyaluronic acid filler. This one is specifically meant for fine lines, so it's a lower viscosity dermal filler. It has, as I said, it's a cross-linked, or it's with lidocaine, so it has a bit of a numbing effect, which is actually, for those who do it themselves, my personal opinion is it's best to do without lidocaine, because if you can't feel what you're injecting, you could end up really hurting yourself or losing where you are in the skin. I just find that can be dangerous if you're doing it on your own, which I certainly don't recommend. But there are certainly other things that you can do with dermal filler other than injecting it into your face or having a professional inject it into your face. And I'm going to certainly show you some of the things that you can do with hyaluronic acid filler that doesn't involve, needles and injecting it into your lips or anywhere that you could end up with an occlusion. But Tesoro is actually one of the best dermal fillers that South Korea has to offer. And if you do decide to place an order and you want to get a filler, I would definitely recommend Tesoro. I've used it before, and it has a great lasting effect. It lasts about 12 months, which is a long time, because a lot of the US FDA approved fillers only last about 6 to 8 months, unless you're using some of the Juvederms, which have 12 to 18 months, as they say. It really depends on which one you're using, but they're also extremely expensive. Tesoro is not expensive. If I recall correctly, it ranges somewhere between $33 and $55 for 1 milliliter, whereas if you were to get a box of Juvederm just for your home use, you'd be paying between $300 and $600 for the same amount. Or if you went to the doctor to get Juvederm, you'd be paying between, depending on where you live, anywhere from $600 to $1,200 for 1 milliliter of Juvederm, and that's with a professional injecting it, obviously. Okay, next we have Curanex. I've actually been looking forward to this one for a while and been meaning to get it for a while. This is an ingredient that is very popular right now, and it's supposed to help with the glow and shine of your skin, because if you are in that age range where your skin is just starting to go downhill, you notice that youthful glow is starting to turn into a matte finish on your face, and this is supposed to help. They come in little, what they call ampoules. They're 5 milliliters in each ampoule, and you get 5. So it's a total 5 vials or ampoules. So it's a total of 25 milliliters of this, and it's all written in it's all written in Korean, so I can't read much, and I don't remember how to pronounce the active ingredient. It starts with a G, L, gluta something. I promise I will get back to you. on that. I'm actually very embarrassed because I look at the name of this ingredient about 10 times a day when I'm researching, and yet I never figured out how to pronounce it. I could always see it and go, oh, that one, and excited about getting it, and then it comes to pronouncing it, and I'm like, oh, I should have written that one down. So I promise we'll do a segment just on this, and I will have the name pronounced correctly and spelled. So, or you can actually look it up on their website on acecosm.com and just search Curenex, and they have the ingredient listed. And next we have Velatox, and there are two types of Velatox which Acecosm offers. There's the blue one and the red one. I don't recall what the blue one does, but the GF11 it has 11 different growth factors in it and antioxidants and vitamins in it. And they say that it's supposed to help with wrinkles and fine lines, a lot like a Botox alternative, but it's all natural. So instead of getting injections of botulinum toxin type A, which, as we know, comes from botulism, using this is a great alternative, especially if you are into all natural products or are looking for an alternative just to using the brand name, which is Botox. But trust me, there are many other names for botulinum toxin type A that are different brands that are not as expensive as Botox. And we don't have one here at the moment to show you, but eventually I will. So two of the ingredients in this that I'm actually very excited about trying are, and actually one I've already tried and love, which is EGF, which stands for epidermal growth factor, which was discovered by a scientist and medical doctor who won the Nobel Prize for discovering what makes up the matrix of the face, and this ingredient called oligopeptide, and how that ingredient makes up the entire, when I say matrix of the face, it's basically the entire surface and regeneration of your face is this epidermal growth factor, which is oligopeptide. And there are many other ingredients which you can add to that, which will help with developing and regenerating the matrix of the face. I'm sure you've heard of Matrixyl 3000, which I am in love with, and it's made by many, or it's used, I should say, it's a trademark. Matrixyl 3000 is a trademark, which contains EGF, epidermal growth factor, which is bought by brands of skincare to use in their products so that they don't have to try to make up the EGF themselves. So they just buy this trademark and it's already made up for them from the company Sederma, which is in France. And it's an amazing company, by the way. If you look it up, Sederma, not Sesderma, but Sederma. But now I'm getting off topic. The other ingredient I'm looking forward to is FGF, which is fibroblast growth factor. And fibroblasts are deep in our skin, like in the subcutaneous level, which is almost the deepest part of your skin, which contains fibroblasts, which, when stimulated, produce more collagen. So if you stimulate the fibroblasts, you'll end up with more collagen. So this is great for that, and this is great for regenerating the surface of your skin because it has the EGF in it. And it has many other products which are wonderful and definitely talked about a lot right now, which are the copper peptides. I'm sure many of you know of copper peptides from the Ordinary product brand. And it also has hexapeptide, which is great for whitening of the skin, or if you have hyperpigmentation, it helps with that. And vitamin C, which is ascorbic acid, which helps with also whitening and getting rid of dead skin cells. So all these ingredients actually, arginine, which is also great, and if you're aware of Dr. Oz, he mentions arginine as being the amazing new Botox of this era, and how it will help get rid of fine lines around your eyes, and that you won't have to use Botox around there anymore. That is what I've read. I didn't actually hear him say that or see a video of him saying that. I'm just telling you what I've read. Don't believe everything you read on the internet. Google does not know everything, and Google is not always right. And remember that everyone can be an author on the internet, and you don't know who these people are unless you know who they are. Okay, so there are a bunch of other ingredients in here, all of which I'm familiar with and are great, and I definitely remember why I wanted this and was very excited about this product. So we're definitely going to be using this, and just so you know, with all these products, when we actually do work with them, and we work with other devices as well, which are actual, you know, when I say devices, I mean beauty devices, which actually produce and use wattage or plasma. Plasma fibroblasting is very popular right now. There are a number of different rejuvenating lights and radio RF radio frequency, and what else are they using? LED lighting. There are a ton of home devices which are supposed to take place of the lasers resurfacing that they do in doctor's offices, which we'll talk more about when we actually do a segment on those, and I'll show you some of them. And the only one that I've found to actually make a difference, although I have not tried all of them, and I think it would be impossible for anyone to try all of them in a lifetime. But the one that I am using currently is one that Dr. Drew that Dr. Drew actually recommended and said he swears by. And I trust Dr. Drew, and I like him a lot. So I decided that that would be one that I would try. And it's actually a great device for the face. Not so much on the neck. I haven't found it to make much of a difference on the neck, but on the face. It's an LED light, and it's called the Stim Light, if you've heard of it. If you haven't, look it up. It's a great device. It also helps with penetrating the skin for products. So when you're putting your skincare products on, they just sit resting on the surface of your face. And that's why the microneedling or the mesotherapy injectors or devices are great for pushing the skincare products deeper into the skin to a layer in which they can actually work and be utilized. If you don't want to get into microneedling or mesotherapy, the LED lights, if you can find one that's effective enough, you can actually push the product deeper into the skin with something like an LED light that's of high enough wattage or volts. And I've found that the stim light does do that. Not as well as the microneedling or mesotherapy, but it does help. So our last, almost our last product is what I was talking about before that other threads are made up of, which is PLLA, and Sculptra is made up of, which is poly-L-lactic acid, and that is USA FDA approved to stimulate new collagen growth as long as it's placed in the proper layer of the skin. You do need, now these are ampoules, and you do need to do several treatments, and I believe this is actually, okay, so this actually is more of a full treatment. It has, it can be used just as a topical, or it can be used with microneedling or with something like a light stimulation type thing, or RF, if that's what you prefer. It comes with the ampoules of PLLA, and it also comes with a mist, like a spray spritz, and a mask, and the essence, of course. And as I said, this is great for stimulating collagen, and it's also great for moisturizing the skin in general, and for help whitening with the skin. And the ingredients actually suggest also that it can help with, I mean, anytime you're stimulating collagen, you're going to help with some fine lines. You're never going to get all of your fine lines disappearing from collagen growth, but it's going to help because when you're plumping the skin, obviously you're going to stretch it out, and when you stretch it out, you're going to fill in some of the depressions, which are the wrinkles. And it's also great for the Alaxin I'm talking about now is also great for so wrinkles and collagen stimulating, and whitening of hyperpigmentation, and moisturization, and regeneration of the matrix, again, of the base of our skin, the epidermis. And the last thing I got, which everybody should have if you are going to order what we talked about, the hyaluronic acid dermal fillers. I'm not talking about the type of products you get over the counter which say they contain hyaluronic acid. Most of the time those products don't actually contain hyaluronic acid, such as the ones that are in dermal fillers. These are full-on hyaluronic acid components, which are the viscosity of a gel, and the hyaluronic acid that are in most of the skincare products are usually just one molecule of hyaluronic acid, which is called sodium hyaluronate. So the next time you look at a skincare product, or if you have any at home right now that say they contain hyaluronic acid, look in the ingredients and see if you actually see the ingredient hyaluronic acid, or if you see sodium hyaluronate. Sodium hyaluronate is a very like I said, it's a sodium molecule of hyaluronic acid, and hyaluronic acid is a full component, I guess you could say, and in the fillers, it's a much higher percentage than the skincare products you buy over the counter. The sodium hyaluronate, which is, as I said, just one molecule, which is a sodium molecule, basically is just causing you to draw in water to your skin to cause temporary moisturization. Because it's a sodium molecule, you're going to not bloat, but you're going to draw in water retention, basically, and it's very temporary. Some people do use sodium hyaluronate in higher percentages on their own without the other skincare ingredients as a mesotherapy treatment, which is injected like all over the face, because sodium hyaluronate is very thin and it's just the sodium and liquid, so it draws in moisture, but as I said, it's very temporary. You would have to do it quite often in order for it to make a difference. And for skin cells that are already dry or peeling, those are dead, and once your skin cells are dead, you can't bring them back to life. You can temporarily moisturize them to fill in the cracks, but you're never going to regenerate dead skin cells. You can regenerate by exfoliating, getting rid of the dead skin cells to reach the new growth underneath, and then stimulate new skin cells to develop, which is what most people want to do, and which is basically my goal. But yeah, you can't bring anything back to life that's already dead for the most part. But then again, I don't know what they do in labs these days, so I may be wrong about that. But at least with skin cells, I know that once they're dead, they're dead. So, as I was saying, anyway, if you're just using your over-the-counter skincare products that claim they have hyaluronic acid, and may very well have hyaluronic acid in them, most of them will have sodium hyaluronate. If they have hyaluronic acid and it's one of, the top 10 ingredients, bravo. If they just have sodium hyaluronate, I think they really should be advertising that as opposed to hyaluronic acid. Just doesn't seem fair. But anyway, you don't need this for over-the-counter skincare products. This Liparase is the South Korean version, one of the South Korean versions of what I was talking about, Hylenex, which is the American FDA-approved version of hyaluronidase, which is to break down and absorb any hyaluronic acid which you've had injected into your face and may have ended up with an ocular, well, hopefully you don't get an ocular occlusion. If you do, you're in trouble. With a vascular occlusion, if that were to, God forbid, happen either in your home or at a doctor's office or a medical spa, if you're ordering a product which has hyaluronic acid in it, like this one, for instance, has 20 milligrams per milliliter, which is a good amount. That's actually what Restylane has. It's cross-linked, which is how Restylane and most of the fillers are actually. If you're going to order any of these dermal fillers, you have to get one of the hyaluronidase absorbers, or in order to break down any emergencies that may occur. It's just pure sense, and it would be ruthless to order a product that could end up causing necrosis of the skin or even take your life if you let it go too long. And it would be so simple to just, if you end up in a situation where you do have a vascular occlusion, and you actually do have something like this on hand, you could hopefully use enough to dissolve enough to get you to the hospital so that you could tell them the situation and they can care for it properly and use the amount that they see fit in order to get rid of the blockage in your